Candy, love and life coaching delivered straight up like your best friend would if she were a licensed and certified mental wellness professional. If you don't know me yet, I'm Candace Harper, relationship coach and hypnotherapist, and I'm here to support you with feeling epic, enough, peaceful, illuminated, and courageous in every area of your life, but particularly your love life, whether you're single or not. I'm also here to teach all of us how to vibe high and manifest the sweetest possible love in this lifetime. I'm here to teach you how to ask for candy and to get it. If you've got something to say about what you hear, email me your comments and questions, askforcandypodcast@gmail.com. You can also follow me on Instagram and TikTok @CandyLoveCoach. Also, make sure you hit the subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to. Leave a review so I can shout you out. And share with the friends and family that you know will benefit from this spoonful of sugar. Now let's get started. Hi, sweet baby love. Welcome to the show. So buckle up. Today is going to be a doozy of a show. I just got so much on my mind. I had so many client meetings this past week. This past week was a crazy busy week and just so much going on. So many parallels between different client stories. And I have a pretty wide demographic. It's all women who are leaders, but different races, different ages, different stages of life. A lot of the same issues. And so today's topic, whenever you are listening to this show, this morning's topic, you will settle, and settle in quotations, or stay alone. Ooh, Candace, what you talking about? I don't want to settle. I'd much rather be alone than settle. And I totally get that. I always say that too. I mean, I'm in a new relationship, so there's still that I'm still shedding the bonds of singlehood as I'm, morphing into this relationship, being a couplehood. I'm still sort of shedding that skin of singlehood. But I do still sort of espouse to that idea of, it's a hell of a lot better to be alone than to settle. Now, here's the distinction. There's actual settling, and then there's what people think is settling, how they operate. So settling, and the fact that we keep talking about that we would rather be alone when we're not even clear on what settling actually is, or framing it in a way that makes sense. It's a reasonable thought. No one wants to settle. But this is what we're going to do today. We're going to get really clear about what settling actually is and what it is not, because that misconception, misunderstanding place where I believe settling is one thing will definitely keep me alone and lonely, and for no good reason. So I had a client this week who is a chronic chaser of emotionally unavailable men. And in fact, the one experience she had with a man chasing her, she described as being love bombed. So the one guy who did actually pursue her, she claimed was too extreme and was a love bomber. Which, in the course of our conversation, delving into what constitutes love bombing when you're someone who's used to being the pursuer, used to chasing after men who ultimately end up marrying someone else, or being with someone else, or leaving you for someone else that they commit to. I had another client who's got someone who absolutely adores her, but he just does not meet her good enough requirements. And all of them are based on judgments that she makes while being concerned about what other people think. So he's not meeting the social approval. He's not, meeting some standard of social acceptance in her circle. And my thing is this, and this is going to be a very loving but very flat and honest show today. Because I really want all my clients and any women out there who I've yet to speak to, my female leaders, my women out there, and I think about all my matchmaking clients as well. It's that same mentality. There is not going to be some magic man who comes along and actually pleases you. When we're in a state of dissatisfaction, and it's not working to believe that there's going to be some magic man who comes along and pleases you. When we're in a state of dissatisfaction, if we're not able to be satisfied on our own, fulfilled on our own, we will never be satisfied in a relationship. And the way you know you're not able to be satisfied or fulfilled on your own is that you can always find things wrong with other people, and you operate through the critiques and the judgments that you make. It's not a them problem. It's an us problem. When we stay chronically alone and we're unhappy about it, and we have a whole list of reasons why all the other people did not work out, we have to realize that it is not coming from a place of loving ourselves, and it's thinking that something external of us, and something is usually that man who has all of what we require, that something external of us is going to make us satisfied. And it's just as bad as those people who think that they're going to be happy when they get rich. And when you can't be happy when you're not rich, getting rich is not going to make you happy. Yes, there is the argument that it does make your life easier. No doubt, because you can pay for insurance and, but your healthcare, where you live, you can pay for all of that stuff. So, no doubt that that's true. It can make your life easier. But if you think that money is going to make you happy, something external of you, you're going to have a rude awakening not too long after you get a windfall. If you think that someone's going to come into your life and make you happy, make you satisfied, you're going to get a rude awakening. As soon as you come down off the honeymoon, you're going to get a rude awakening that you're still the same unsatisfied person that you were before. Right? So it really comes down to self-love, self-satisfaction. And I know I've heard this all before, Candace. You're not saying anything new. And I know you're going to hate this. But the question is, what is going on with your satisfaction with yourself? Some of you out there are so convinced that you have this self-love thing on lock because it's such a cliche to talk about. It's all anybody talks about. You see memes about it all the time. There's so many of us out here walking around like, I got it. I'm sure I know I love myself. I had at least 4 clients say that to me this week. Well, I know I love myself. And the problem with that is that, yeah, in some ways you probably do. You care about what happens to yourself, but there's a dissonance going on if you claim that you love yourself and you still are in judgment and criticism of yourself and others. Because that is not love. And I know, I say this every week. People are like, well, Candace, am I not supposed to have any discernment? Am I not supposed to be looking for the things that don't work? No, you're not. You're not. It's about focusing on the things that do work. It's about stop worrying about, looking for what's wrong with yourself and other people. Because if you look for it, you will find it. There is something, and I'm putting this in air quotes, wrong with everybody. Everybody's got something that a whole group of other people will say is not right or is not good enough, or that a whole nother group of people will disapprove of. And does this mean just be with anybody? No, it doesn't mean just be with anybody, but it means start focusing on what is good and what you do like and what does work and what aligns with you, which I talk about every week. And I don't mind talking about it every week, but this week I'm feeling very passionate about it, because when you walk around believing that you got the self-love thing on lock, you have no idea that your cognitive dissonance is fully at play. First of all, none of us has it 100% on lock. None of us has the self-love thing completely figured out. This is our earth journey. This is, as they say in the Byron Katie community, it's earth school. This is for us to learn. This is for us to evolve into. Self-love is a constant growing evolution. It doesn't come magically from someplace outside of us. When we believe that we got it figured out, that I know I love myself, that's exactly the moment when you have to be, okay, where am I dissonant? Where am I not connected to actually loving myself while I'm so busy claiming it and proclaiming it? Right? And there's nothing wrong with being on a journey of self-love, because that's exactly what self-love is. It is a journey. And as much as I preach about it every week, it is a journey that I am on. I struggle with it. I am challenged by it. My dissonance comes into play. I think I've got it figured out. And then I realize there's this way that I'm not loving myself. There's this critical way that I'm being. There's this judgmental way that I'm being. There's this thing I'm not allowing myself. There's this way that I'm not giving myself grace. I'm sitting in the thinking of lack, of what's not there, what is missing, and I'm missing it. That is when we know we're not loving ourselves. So you do not love yourself if you are unable to ever reach the super high excellence bar that you keep setting. So all my leaders out there with your 5 degrees and everything you've accomplished, and everything you've accomplished because you were rising up out of wherever you came from, wherever you were conditioned and raised, and or you were trying to please daddy who didn't pay enough attention, or wasn't around, or if he was around didn't pay enough attention, so you were trying to achieve to make him one day proud of you, or same thing with mom. All of you out there who feel like, specifically women of color, that if you don't have enough education, that you're not good enough, that you need to be able to, be better than everybody else in the room in order to succeed. There is some verity, there is some truth to the idea that we've been pressured to think that we have to excel farther than anybody else to be considered. And in a lot of ways, in our culture, in our society, that has been true and that is true. But the moment we let go of that trope of you are inferior if you have not achieved to whatever level that no one lets themselves reach, is the moment that we start to not need for anybody else to validate and think that we're good enough, that we get to do it for ourselves. And that doesn't mean don't get a degree anymore or don't try to achieve things anymore. But understand that when you're doing it because you feel like it's what makes you enough, or better than everybody in the room, or worthy of someone else's approval, it is the path to your depression, your anxiety, your feelings of not good enough, your inability to connect and be intimate, your shame, letting your shame run the show. Like, that is the path to pure unhappiness on this earth. Trying to be good enough for someone else's approval or validation, or hoping that they're going to give you what you are due because you worked so hard. That is the path to unhappiness, disconnection, and everything that we're not here for in this world. And so it's not self-loving to force yourself to achieve things in order to appear to be good enough. Now, if you're achieving things because you are truly, authentically passionate about what you are doing, and it's not about trying to be impressive for somebody else, you actually really, truly care about what you're doing, you love it, it's in your soul, it's in your DNA, it's what you were put here to do, it's the contribution you knew you were put here on the earth to make. If that's your reasoning for achieving and driving, and it drives you every day. And here's another thing, because I had a great conversation with a client, because she was talking about how what she does doesn't really drive her every day. She really is looking for a purpose that drives her. So stop it with the wanting something to drive you, and it's that thing that you want to drive every day. You want to drive no matter what. And I can tell you this, not from a place on high, but healing the past, loving myself unconditionally, starting all over from a clean slate, and teaching others to do it too, is something that gets my butt out of bed every day, even when I don't want to get up, even when my body is saying stay in bed longer. It's something that gets me on this mic every Saturday. It's something that without fail has me doing what I need to do in order to stay engaged in it in some way. And there's some days that I can take it all away. There's some days where I can only do a little bit, but it is something that I drive, and I drive it because that's how connected and passionate I am about it. But, there were days in my previous career when I worked in television, when I worked for other people, where I couldn't drive it all the time because I just wasn't that connected to it. I wasn't that passionate about it. And I wasn't really loving myself within it. It was about someone else's approval. It was about other people being impressed. The last job that I had in my previous career, I worked in a national television show. That job was all about people being impressed. Getting to that point was all about who's going to be impressed with it. I got a master's degree in design so that I could be impressive. And because I thought as a woman of color, that's what I needed to do in order to be able to do what I wanted to do in the world. Now, we could get in the whole thing about like systemic racism and how, often we do have to work harder and be better and all of that stuff. But that's also exactly what hinders us from having a true human experience, that understanding that you will be the absolute best of everything when you realize that it's about pleasing yourself and it's about what you are passionate about. It's not about, what things you do that impress other people. Woo, I could do a whole show about just that one. So that high bar of excellence that you never get to reach. I had another client months ago who was saying, oh, I have this degree and a doctorate degree, but God is telling me to get another doctorate degree, even though I don't really want to, and I've been avoiding it. That's insane. God does not care whether you have a doctorate degree. Whatever you believe in, whatever higher power you believe in, loves you, even if you didn't even graduate high school. So that's just that thing we do to ourselves, where it's like, I gotta achieve in order to be good enough. So you know you do not love yourself if your mentality is, I haven't achieved enough. I have to do more. I need to do more. I need to do it bigger. And not because I'm passionate about it, but because I need that approval. I need for people to look at me with respect. I need people to call me by a title. You do not love yourself if you are unable to let go of control of every aspect of your relationships, because you think it'll save you from getting hurt, which controlling your relationships is like the surefire road to getting hurt, because people do not like to be controlled. Even those who are codependent enough to allow themselves to be controlled will find subversive, covert ways to not love you and manipulate you because you need the control so much. It's unhealthy. It's toxic. This idea that you can pre-plan out a relationship and know exactly how it's going to go, that you can set parameters and boundaries on another person so that you can know exactly how it's going to go to make sure that you don't get hurt. And trust me, my sweethearts, my loves, I know that it comes from trauma. It comes from the past. It comes from trying to avoid getting hurt again. I get it. But that's why they say what you resist persists. Those things we fear, we manifest. And I know that those are all the self-help cliches, but they're absolutely true. Controlling people in relationships in an avoidance to get hurt, or thinking that you're going to be able to somehow navigate and manipulate it in a way that it's going to go your way, that is not self-loving. You are putting yourself in a position of not only actually getting hurt, but also the anxiety of trying to get someone to constantly show you that they're doing what you want them to do. Oh my God, it's like the path to misery, and why so many relationships don't work out. Right? So just know that, like, just as I'm going through these, just be doing a self check-in. Am I unable to let go of control in relationships? Can I let someone in my relationship have a need because they have things that they need to work out without me hurrying up and fixing it? Specifically with powerful women with men, right? Because they will try it. They will try it. The most loving of men will have a need. They'll have something. And you can jump in and be like their mother because you're controlling and you want to control the relationship. You want to make sure they love you. You want to be their everything. And that will set up a certain dynamic in the relationship. Or you're a man if you like men. You're a woman if you like women. Whatever gender you like. You're an adult. You're a grown up. You can handle it. I'm going to step out. I'm going to step away and let you handle it. I see you handling it. You want my support? Great. Right? Me trying to control you, control your steps, question your actions, check your phone, just trying to plan it all out, trying to make sure you give me the promises I want you to give me. It's crazy making, and it's not intimate, and it's not self-loving. You are not loving yourself from that place. You know you do not love yourself if you are highly critical of other people and worrying about the opinions and approval of others when you make choices. Now, here's the thing about highly critical people. No one is more afraid of not having the approval of others than people who criticize people all the time, because they think that other people are critiquing them the way that they are critiquing other people. And trust me when I tell you, as someone who is a reformed judge of others, no one was ever judging me as harshly as I was judging myself and them. And even if they were, I would never know it. But I can tell you that my judgment of myself, my judgment of other people, was exactly what was the problem, not whether other people approved of me. But I can tell you also that I never felt like anybody approved of me because I didn't approve of anyone. See, what we forget is that these feelings that we want to experience from other people, the deficit is not in them. The deficit is in us. When you feel like you're not getting, and I say this at the end of every show, you are a love machine. If you ever start to feel like you're not getting the love you need, then make more. And that's what that means. When we feel like we're not getting what we need, that's the universe's way of saying you are not generating it. If I'm walking around disapproving of others, disapproving of how other people live their lives, disapproving of who people be with or who they choose to be with, I'm going to assume that other people are disapproving of me too. And if I'm worried that someone is going to judge me the way that I'm judging other people, I'm going to make choices that are based on what I think other people will approve of, which I will never be able to get right. Because I am stuck in a paradox of my own judgment and criticism. And, the same client, I don't think I got through to her, which is probably why I'm so passionate about this today. But this idea of, and we did a line of questioning because one of her concerns is that there's a person that she loves, that loves her very much, but he doesn't meet the approval of the people around her because she's, when they had bad times, she, talked about him, said all these things about him. So now she's got people around her who have all these judgments about him and these criticisms about him. And she's afraid that if she wants to get with him, no one's going to be happy for her. They're going to judge and criticize if she wants to get back with him. And so she's holding off on her own happiness, her own fulfillment, because of her concern of how other people are going to judge and disapprove. And when I ask her if she had, about a friend of hers who is getting married to someone she doesn't approve of, she says, yeah, she'll love the friend no matter what. But her judgment of it is the friend is not happy. The friend has no business being that person. So here she sits with no approval, no acceptance, no allowance. No saying, well, it may not be what I want, but I know it's what you want. And it may not even ultimately be right for you. I don't know. I don't know everything. It may be the best thing that has ever happened to you. It might be the relationship that is your pivotal relationship that sends your life on the most amazing trajectory. I don't know. But I've decided that I don't approve of you. And I don't approve of what you're doing. And so my lack of approval makes me feel that I'm not going to get approval. And when I need approval, the worst thing I can do is sit in judgment. And usually when I'm sitting in judgment, it's because I need approval. It's so crazy. It's like a paradox wrapped in an enigma and a catch-22. It's cyclical. And that is just how it works. You got to give what it is you think that you're supposed to be getting. Stop waiting for the outside world to fix you, to fulfill you, to be there for you. And I'm talking to myself as well as I'm talking to you because I've always done it myself. That's why I'm a food addict. It's why I smoked a pack a day for, 20 years. It's why I had all these expectations on the people in my life because I wanted something outside of me to fix me, to make me better, to make me good again, to make me whole again. But I wasn't willing to generate it myself. I wanted someone to come along and love me, but I wasn't generating love because I wasn't even loving myself. I was needing for someone else to come along and do it. I wanted something outside of me to happen to show me how valid I am. I wanted someone to give me my flowers because I didn't know how to do it for myself. And I wasn't doing it for myself. But the problem is that people did give me my flowers. People did come along and want to admire me. People did come along and want to love me. But from that place of not being able to stop judging and criticizing because I was so hard on myself, I couldn't help but be hard on others. I couldn't even recognize it. Even if I was getting it, I didn't recognize it. That's why it's so important to start inward. To go from the inside. You do not love yourself if you are in an argument for your limitations. So I had a couple clients this week, and maybe there was an energy I was giving off, I don't know, but they're just not having it. well, I've done everything I can. I believe I don't know what to do. I don't know how to stop. This is just the way I am. I don't know, how to change this thinking. There's no way to change it. This is just what I need, and that's it. Even though it's not working, even though it has been sabotaging me for years, even though I don't have what I want, I still refuse to come up off of believing what I believe. I refuse to practice anything new but what I believe. I refuse to stop trying to control. A client I was talking to who's dealing with someone who's completely unavailable and only has time for her when he wants to have time for her. And it's killing her because he's in, the end of a long string of men where that was the situation. And in the end, they end up with the woman who they find valuable, not the one who's been there available, begging for them, begging for their time and attention, behaving as though she's not valuable, as though she's just desperate for them. See, I go on these tangents and I get so excited and I just lose my train of thought. But yes, you do not love yourself if you are in an argument for your limitations. And that particular client, the argument was that she's, not ready to give up the control, not ready to go further in the coaching, make the financial investment, the emotional investment that it's going to take. And that's fine because, I'm not attached to that, but it's this belief that it's just not going to happen for me. So I got to just keep holding on to the crumbs. And when I believe that, I am 100% right. And I am not loving myself. I am not loving myself. I don't know how many ways to say it, my sweethearts, because all of our experiences are the product of our beliefs. All of the ways that we navigate the world are a product of what we believe to be true. Stop, consuming this social media that just, keeps supporting the old tropes of that there's no good men out there, that nobody can be trusted, that whatever, little piece of man that you get is what you get, and you got to hold on to it no matter what. Also, the opposite, that you just have to be alone. Like, don't even be bothered, because the only way you're going to be happy is if you're all by yourself. Well, if there's a desire in your heart to not be the desire of your heart is to be completely alone, then go, girl, get it. Ain't nothing wrong with that. I'm all for it. Because the time that I've spent alone after my last relationship, I found so much fulfillment and happiness. Now, for me, I started to miss it. I started to miss the connection. And so then I knew there was some self-love work to do. But knowing that I desire the connect, I like the connection. I like having a connection right now. I love the way it feels. I love having somebody to talk to about my stuff where I can just 100% be myself. They get me. They understand me. Sometimes we have a little bit of conflict, but we talk it out and we can talk about it. We got, things to solve and things to talk about and things to envision, things to laugh about. I absolutely love and adore it. And I want it for everybody who wants it, which is why I'm so adamant about it right now. But if you're in an argument for your limitations around it, that you just are who you are, you believe what you believe, there's nothing you can do about it, I can't help it, I don't want to heal any of that past trauma, I just want to keep going like I'm going, I'm just going to keep waiting for that thing to come along that's going to be the magical, masterful thing that makes it all wonderful. If that's where you're at, that's where you shall stay, my sweetheart. And you are not loving yourself. You're not loving yourself if you don't trust kindness, compassion, and sweetness from the people that you date. Another running theme this week is, the couple of people, like at least 3 of the clients that I spoke to, a guy was too sweet. He was too nice. He was showing up too much. He was paying me too much attention. He would text me every day. He wanted to, go out on dates all the time. Too many flowers, just too much. Now, love bombing is a thing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you need to like anybody who's nice to you. Because yes, there are people out there who'll start out nice and turn into something evil, right? But if you cannot decipher the difference between a person trying to love you or a person trying to get you to love them, then that means that's a little indication that I got some self-love stuff going on. Right? I need to know that I want somebody who's going to match the way that I treat myself. And if you come along and I'm treating myself shitty and you try to treat me good, I'm not going to trust you. I'm going to think any nice thing you do has a motive behind it. Because I don't even talk to myself the way you talk to me. I don't say nice things to myself. I don't let myself be beautiful and good enough and amazing. Not on the inside. I might do that facade thing on the outside where I act like I do. But I'm still sitting in criticism and judgment. So really, what's going on the inside? I can't trust it when someone is admiring or loving with me or sweet with me. I can't just go with the flow of that. And here's the thing about when somebody is just love bombing you and trying to get you to like them. You'll know because they won't be interested in you. They'll be interested in making sure you like them. So they'll be selling themselves really hard. They'll be, they won't really care about what your input or your opinion is about where you go, what you do, or anything like that. They'll be just constantly trying to impress you without even asking what would impress you. But somebody who genuinely is interested in you and sees something in you, they're going to be interested in you. They're going to want to know who you are. They're going to ask you questions. They're going to want to take you places. They're going to want to sit down and talk to you. They're going to want to make you smile. They're going to ask you what kind of things make you smile. They might try to surprise you with some things, but somebody who's trying to get you to like them, they're just going to keep barreling through. And they're not going to stop. They're not going to understand any sort of like limits or anything with it. Right? And the less you like them, probably the harder they'll keep trying. But if you're in touch with yourself, you're going to be able to decipher the difference. Right? You're going to really be able to see the difference. And if you're somebody like my one client who always chases, you got to be really willing to say to yourself, if somebody comes along and they're really going out of their way to get to know you and get to know who you are, ask you questions, really learn who you are. Is it me? Is it because I'm not loving myself? I'm too ashamed of myself to share myself? Is that why I feel like they're love bombing me? They're so interested in me? You got to be willing to ask yourself, right? And self-love gives you the power to be able to decipher between the two. And the last one, which there's so many more, I'm sure. If you think of other ones, please, by all means, get at me. You do not love yourself if you actually settle. And there is a settling. There is a such thing as actually settling. This thing that we're all so afraid of doing. All my female leaders, all my queens, my boss women out there, we're all so afraid of settling. And nobody's actually sure what settling actually is. They just think it's, something very superficial. So being with someone who doesn't really care about you, and perhaps they're only interested in how you make them look good or what you do for them, that's settling. Right? If all they really care about is how you make them look, those guys that want you to be like head to toe on point physical looks all the time, relentless with it. I think of like Donald and Melania Trump. If it's just all about that, that's settling. Settling for someone who doesn't care about you as a human being. I mean, I'm not in their marriage. I don't really know those people. But, by all appearances, there's no inkling that he's really interested in who she is as a person at her core. And there's no inkling that she's really interested in who she is as a person at her core. From the outside, it looks like she likes being a trophy wife. That's just my interpretation. I'm not diagnosing anything. But you get what I'm saying. Somebody who doesn't care about your humanity, your humanness, that's settling. Because, he is the young preacher at the church, and he's so handsome, and he's got all these credentials, and he's got all this stuff going on. I just want to be first lady of the church. He could care less about who I am, what I do, where I go, what I'm interested in, what I'm passionate about. To be with someone because of their credentials and they don't care about who you are, settling. To be with someone because there is no one else. So particularly when they treat you poorly, as though you're just an option. Right? So that's settling. Someone who treats you poorly, but you're staying with them because you don't feel like you can get anybody else. Settling. I'll give you that. Nobody wants to do that, girl. Do you? Don't settle, right? Being with someone that you can't trust, and you can't trust them because they've made it clear you can't trust them, right? Not that thing where it's like my trust issues are coming up because I've been cheated on before, so I'm doing everything I can to catch them in a lie. When someone has made it clear that they cannot be trusted, they have betrayed your trust, and there is evidence, and you stay with that person, that is settling. I mean, mainly because someone who you know cannot be trusted can inadvertently and purposely put you in all kinds of unwanted, dangerous situations. So you're not loving yourself if you stay with someone that you know you cannot trust. That is settling. That is settling. Being with someone because everyone in your life will approve of him. So that goes back to my example of, being with the preacher of the church, being with the head surgeon, being with the new partner in the law firm, being with the I don't know, celebrity actor, whoever it might be. Everyone will be impressed with him. Everyone will be so impressed. Never mind the fact that he and I don't have any real connection besides maybe a sexual connection or, a credential connection. Everyone will be impressed. That is settling. It is settling, my sweet loves. And I know it sounds so counterintuitive to what you're supposed to be looking for when you're looking for somebody that you match with. But trust me when I tell you at 50 years old, life is so short. Life is so short. And granted, I know a lot of you out there are looking for someone to match with whom you can have children. So yeah, there are some logistic things that you want to have in place. But later on, I'm going to tell you what are the real things. And we've talked about it before when it comes to core value matching, what's really important when it comes to that stuff. Being with someone because you are being threatened or coerced, that is settling, obviously. Being with someone because you are convinced that you cannot make it on your own, that is settling. So if you're with somebody that you would not be with if you had the financial means to be on your own, that is settling. And I have been there where I stayed in a relationship because I didn't have the financial means to just leave. And I was settling. That's settling. Okay? I know I'm being very adamant about this, but I really want to make it clear because we're going to talk about what settling is not. And there's a lot of confusion out there amongst my successful women about what settling is not. Being with someone who is highly irresponsible with money, their children, their career, their life, that's settling. Someone who's irresponsible, you don't want to be with someone who's irresponsible. That is settling. That doesn't mean that you can't be with someone who sometimes does irresponsible things, but someone who their life is structured around irresponsibility. That is settling. Right? Being with someone who has no integrity or ability to keep their word. Settling. Settling. If you can't believe that what they say is what they're going to do, if you can't believe that they're going to speak life into your life and speak words of affirmation and growth and prosperity and love and abundance, if you can't rely on that, if you they'll tell you one thing and it goes another way because they have no power around it, being with someone like that is settling. Now let's talk about what settling is not, because this is where we get really tripped up. I think with those other ones, maybe it was kind of obvious. Some of y'all are like, Candace, we know this. What are you talking about? So here's what settling is not. Dating someone who is less attractive than you're used to. That's not settling. It is not settling, my sweethearts. If you meet someone whose core value aligned with you and treats you well and is good to you and wants to know who you are, and he's not as attractive as you are used to or what you really like, you are not settling. You are not settling. You are letting go of some of the external bullshit that you think will make you happy. But if you think someone being good looking will make you happy, you are confused about what is sustainable when it comes to happiness. Because I can't tell you how ugly someone can become when you find out that their behavior does not match up with the life that you want to live. I mean, I can't even tell you how good looking, when I was in an abusive relationship, how sexy and good looking I thought that man was when I first met him. And many that I've dated where it ended up going bad. how attractive and tall and my type so many that I've gone out with, even for short periods of time. In the beginning, I was like, damn. And the moment they start showing their ass and start showing their ass on a consistent basis, and it starts to run roughshod over your life, it starts to affect how you're living, all of a sudden, they don't look so good anymore. So dating someone who is less attractive than you're used to is not settling, my sweethearts. Dating someone who does not have degrees is not settling. I don't care if you have 3 doctorate degrees. You are not settling because you date someone who only graduated high school. Because if they have the other things in place, as far as their core value alignment, their sense of responsibility, their integrity, if they are a man of their word, if they are loving and open and growing and learning and spiritual, and align with you on that level, because degrees are not a sign of intelligence. Yes, there are a lot of intelligent people out there who have a lot of degrees. There's a lot of intelligent people out there who do not. So you are not settling because someone didn't spend as much time in school as you did. Look for core value alignment. Look for feeling good when you're with that person. Look for being able to be yourself and be seen, and be seen and appreciated for being yourself. And don't assume that because someone doesn't have your education that they're not going to know how to be with you, that they're not going to know how to be in your space and interact with you in a way that works, that they're going to somehow need you to be smaller or put you down. Because if you go into it with that attitude that they're going to have to insult you and make you small, there's not going to be anything they can say that you're not going to take defensively. So if you're thinking, oh, I'm so much smarter because I spent so much more time in school, girl, you could be alone with those degrees. And I don't mean to sound harsh, but so many of us are out here with this messed up idea of what is good enough. So someone who doesn't have a sense of fashion, you are not settling because you date someone who doesn't have good fashion sense. If you are highly fashionable and you love nice things and you're very stylish and all of that stuff, trust me when I say if this man loves and admires you and you love who this person is as a human being, or this woman, whoever, that over time, not saying that you're getting with them to change them, but you can't help it. When people love each other, they influence each other. They just do. And that's part of a good litmus for love, right? If you're able to have influence over a person just by inspiration, by being who you are, if you're super stylish and they see that about you and they start to love who you are as a person, that's something that's going to start being in their wheelhouse. Okay, they like super stylish. Even with mine now, my boyfriend now, it's like I'm somebody who I could easily let the glamour fall by the wayside. And he's somebody who likes a little nail polish. So I've been painting my nails. Now I feel good about it because it looks really pretty. I have really pretty nails. I just, for so long, I wasn't really trying to be special for anybody. And I feel a little special now. I got these nails. He thinks it looks pretty. Compliments me on it all the time. You influence each other. And there's nothing wrong with any of that. There's nothing wrong with getting with somebody who doesn't necessarily, and he definitely doesn't have the fashion sense I like. But I know I have influence over him. I know I can get him in a jacket or a blazer or whatever because I have, and he likes it. So you're not settling because you get with someone who doesn't have fashion sense, or you didn't like the shoes that he picked on the first date. You're not settling if you continue to date him. You're not settling if he doesn't impress your friends. You might have a bunch of powerful friends who think they have it all together and that they know it all. And everybody's alone and not wanting to be alone. Nothing wrong with being alone, but not wanting to be alone, but think they got it all figured out. And trust me when I tell you, if you're alone and you don't want to be alone, you don't have it all figured out. If you're in a relationship, I don't have it all figured out. I have what I have figured out. But there's always way more to learn. So you got this group of friends, they feel like they got it all figured out. They're not impressed because he's not coming with whatever requirements and credentials and attitude and ways of being and ways of speaking that they think he should come with. You are not settling if you choose to be with him anyway because you feel loved, seen, and accepted in the relationship with him. Because you actually feel good about who you are in the relationship with him. You can be yourself freely, openly, and interact with this person in a loving way. You are not settling because your friends don't get it and they're not impressed. Your family doesn't get it and they're not impressed. You're not settling because of that. So many people will pass certain people by because they don't fit into whatever is the cultural requirement in my friend group. Stop with all that BS. Somebody who has kids already. If you date somebody who has kids already, you're not settling. I know there's younger women out there especially who don't want to be with anybody who has kids already. I want it to be a fresh relationship, just me and him, whatever. We are in the land of so many divorces, so many, families pieced together. And what it all comes down to is just love and acceptance. Somebody comes with kids, there's just more people in the relationship to love. Now, I'm not saying that like, I'm not blind to the fact that it does come with issues and problems. But, one of the big things in my relationship that was abusive, he had 2 kids, and I didn't know how to be in that abusive relationship and be loving and accepting with his kids in a way that would have really worked. I mean, I loved those kids. They're great. They're, great young women now. But I didn't know how to really connect with them because I was in an abusive relationship with their father. Right? Or I was in this sort of resistance, this non-acceptance. But if I wasn't in that resistance, if I was in acceptance, in loving acceptance, there would have just been 2 more people for me to love in the relationship. I don't know if y'all can hear the German Shepherd. So you don't want to miss out on those opportunities of being able to be open and loving. And yes, there's baby mamas and baby daddies and all of that stuff. And, exes, divorced fathers, the divorced mama, whatever. All of that exists. It's really hard to escape in this day and age, but you are not settling if you get with someone who does already have kids. Now, if they have kids and they neglect their kids, they have contentious relationships with their kids because they neglect their kids, and there's all kinds of issues around that, and they're not in any way interested in healing it or transforming it or even trying to enter into their kid's life or make amends or grow into being a better father, then that tells you something. That would be settling. But just the simple fact that they had a relationship before you that bore children, or maybe even a couple relationships that bore children. Now, if he had like 10 kids, 10 different women, that's definitely a red flag. That could be settling. But this idea that someone's going to come and be your perfect prince and only have time for you, especially as we get older, you are not settling if you open your heart to the possibility that it's not going to be exactly how you want. So all of it, like, you're not settling if you date someone who actually pursues you rather than makes you pursue him. You're settling when you are pursuing a man. That is settling. You are not settling when you let someone like you. Let someone admire you. Let someone actually go out of their way. And if they're not going out of their way, settling is then trying to force them to go out of their way, or you going out of your way to make them go out of their way. And I'm not talking about, just the standards of like who's paying for dates and that he should always be asking in the beginning or whatever. But if you start to feel like it's not moving unless you move it, that is settling. But if he's consistent and wants to be involved with you and wants to see you on a regular basis and actually really likes you, he really likes you. And the reason I have to say this, that it's not settling, is because so many of us out there are saying, he likes me too much. I don't trust it. He's going out of his way. I don't want that. It's like, I mean, it blows my mind, although it doesn't completely, because I was the same way. I never liked a guy who really liked me before. And to be in a situation right now where I don't have to wonder if he's going to call, if he really loves me, if he really cares about me, if he's going to want to hang out, if he's going to, show up on my birthday, give me something on Valentine's Day, which both have gone by since we started dating. And he showed up for both in a big way. I didn't have to make any moves. I didn't have to ask. I didn't have to wonder. I know I'm going to talk to him every day. It's easy. You're settling if it's anything but easy. If you got to chase after him, if it's not moving unless you move it, if you got to force the situation, if you got to initiate everything, if you got to plan dates in order to get him involved, if you got to set up scenarios and situations, otherwise he's not doing anything or interested, you are settling. That is what settling is. If you stop dating someone because his balls hang low, who's shorter than you, who doesn't have a particular profession, who lives in a neighborhood you don't like, who's not a certain race, who makes less money than you, who's actively working on his dreams and his goals, but he's not there yet. If you're dating that person, you are not settling, my sweetheart. I know I'm starting to sound overly passionate about it, but so many of us out there are believing that. And I'm talking about some highly evolved, highly transformed, very intelligent, educated women are out there believing that these dumb external things, that if I accept them, I will be settling. And I need for you to start considering something different. Because it always comes back to love. It always comes back to being loved, seen, and accepted. And it comes back to being able to choose someone and just love them. The years are going by, they go by quickly. One day you wake up and you have critiqued and judged yourself into complete loneliness. And maybe there's people out there who that's what they want. And like I said, kudos to you if that's what you want. But the women I work with, that's not what they want. They don't want to be alone. And they often don't want to do the work that it takes in order to transform the experience of being alone. So what is the takeaway? If you can find someone who you allow to see who you really are at your core, and they jive with that, they jive with who you are at your core, and they're willing to show you who they are, and you jive with that. If you can both accept each other where you are, accept each other's weaknesses, and admire each other's strengths, one day when you are old and gray and nobody's private parts are working anymore, and half these friends and family that had opinions about your relationship are dead and gone, because they will be. One day you'll be old and all these people you cared about what they thought won't be around anymore. If you can look over at that person and still be friends, just still be friends, still have affinity for each other, perhaps smile at each other, or even brighten each other's moment. Maybe share a joke. That is when you will know that you chose the right one. At the end, you won't know you chose the right one in the beginning. It's impossible. You don't know until the end, until you can look back over those years and say, you know what? I did good. And that's at the end. Even people that have been together 3, 4, 5 decades who are still in it, there's still always the possibility that it's not going to work out. We don't know until we know, and we don't know until the end. So pick someone and love them. Pick someone and love them. So stop waiting for someone or something or some magical force outside of you to come and bring you this gift of a soulmate. Stop waiting for the external to be what it needs to be in order for you to stop judging and criticizing, because it will never happen. As long as you are unsatisfied, judging, criticizing yourself and others, as long as you have set some standard that you and others are supposed to be living by, no one will ever meet it, yourself included. You will never reach the pinnacle. And that's not to say that you shouldn't want to be ambitious and have desires and want to keep growing and loving and all of that stuff. But without true, honest, unconditional self-love, really knowing yourself, accepting yourself, loving yourself, being able to fill up, knowing why you are here, what's important to you, why it's important to you, what difference you can make for other people, what service you are to be of, who you are, what is your value, knowing all of that stuff, filled up with it, so that you can overflow onto another human being. That's the journey. That's the journey. All this other stuff, worrying about all these dumb things. And I have worked with women from their mid-20s all the way to their early 80s. And everybody wants the same damn thing. They get to the end of their lives. I mean, we never know when is the end of our lives, right? You could be at any age. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But we get to the end, and then we start to realize that we want the same thing that we wanted in the beginning. And years and years and years can go by with us not having it. And there's only one thing that keeps us from it: our own inability to accept ourselves unconditionally and therefore fill up and overflow onto others. Pick someone, choose someone who aligns with who you are and has shown you that they have admiration for you, affinity, consistency, love for you, that they see you. Let people see you. Pick the one who you've let see and sees you and admires you and loves you, wants to be with you, makes you a priority. Pick them, choose them, and love them. And that's it, my sweethearts. This hour goes by so fast. That was a fun one for me. Hopefully you enjoyed it as well. So, for a limited time, I'm giving a 2-hour complimentary coaching session for those who qualify. If you're looking for transformation in your love life, if you are coachable, if you value learning, if you are a 7+ on the scale of 1 to 10 for how serious you are for having a healthy love life, you have nothing to prove and everything to gain if you're ready to make a massive shift for your freedom, your emotional wellness, and how you experience your love life. Email me, Candice@CandiceHarperLoveCoach.com, and ask for my exclusive complimentary consultation link. It's exclusive. You will have to fill out a quick questionnaire. I don't work with everybody, but I will, look over your questionnaire and we'll have a complimentary coach. And it's a real coaching call. There's actual real transformation. You don't believe me? You can go to my LinkedIn. I have a couple reviews of people that did a complimentary consultation and had real transformation from one consultation. Now, does it solve everything that 1-2 hours? No. Of course, if you qualify, there may be an offer, an invitation to work with me. However, there is no obligation. There is no attachment. I'm not going to make you feel all icky if you get sticker shock and don't like my prices. You don't feel like you're ready to make the investment. It's not going to be like that. Because you're going to know if it's right for you and you're actually ready to cut the bullshit and turn it around and do a different thing. You're going to know, and it's going to be a no-brainer. And, you'll figure it out like we all do. We all do, us female leaders, when we want to do something, when we're ready, we know we're ready, and we know we're going to get results from it and have what we want. And we're ready for what we want. We're not still, in fear of it. We push ahead. We do what we need to do. We make the financial and the emotional investment, and we push ahead. So, I'm not going to be in any kind of argument for anybody's limitations. Either you're ready or you're not ready. But either way, you get 2 hours of complimentary coaching to transform something in your life. And in your love life, I should say, your love life experience. And that's it. I love you so much, my sweethearts. You can follow me at Candy Love Coach on Instagram and TikTok. I haven't posted in a little while, but I'm getting back on the stick. And until next time, never forget that you are a love machine. If you ever start to feel like you aren't getting the love you need, just make more and then ask for candy. Mwah, mwah, mwah. I love you so much.